Michael Jackson, the king of pop. That's what we know about this man. In truth, throughout history up to this very day, I doubt I could name an entertainer who has left a greater mark on the world than Michael Jackson. A legendary career, dazzling glory, and songs that endure through time, that's what people say about him. Yet, that's not the whole story. Few know that the king of pop led a life shrouded in secrets, hidden away for years. From a wretched childhood to the dark shadows that loomed at the peak of his career, to a death steeped in mystery. Countless theories about Michael Jackson's life continue to spark debate even today. Some claim he was a member of the Illuminati. Others insist he died from drug abuse. So, what else about the life and death of this legend remains unknown to us? Are the rumors swirling around him actually true? We'll uncover the answers in this video. Michael Jackson, the mysterious life and death of the king of pop. Though Michael Jackson's fame is undeniable, and information about him is readily available online, it's worth recapping his remarkable life briefly to better grasp the secrets we'll explore later in this video. In the smoky suburbs of Gary, Indiana, during the 1950s, steel mills churned relentlessly. Heavy industry defined America's industrial age. Born into a black family with 9 siblings, Michael Jackson grew up in poverty, part of society's blue-collar working class. Joseph and Catherine Jackson struggled to provide food and clothing for their children while, above all, nurturing a love for music. Joseph worked at a steel mill, occasionally playing R&B with his band, the Falcons. But it seems his love for his children paled beside his passion for music. Why, you ask? Because Joseph often disciplined his children physically, with belts, whips, or whatever he could grab. He forced them to rehearse to exhaustion, pouring all their time and energy into music. For he held the belief that only music could lift his children's lives out of poverty's grip. In his autobiography, Michael Jackson wrote that his teenage years were a haunting string of days. He couldn't play carefree like his peers. Instead, he lived and worked in a hellish environment. Michael was once hung upside down by one leg from the ceiling and beaten until his father tired. In those years, the future king of pop often stood alone, crying in lonely despair, haunted by fear and nausea that lingered whenever his father appeared. In 1964, just old enough for first grade, Michael joined the family band, the Jackson Brothers. The group included Marlon, Jackie, Tito, Michael, and Jermaine. The 5 brothers toured across Indiana. After a hit song exceeded expectations, the Jackson Brothers gained newfound confidence. They began interstate tours to Chicago, then Illinois, stretching to the East Coast and Midwest. In 1966, the group renamed itself the Jackson 5, with Michael and his 3rd brother, Jermaine, as lead vocalists. Surprisingly, the family band started achieving successes that few could have foreseen. 2 years later, the Jackson 5 signed their first recording deal with Motown Records, launching their voices into the American music scene. They earned praise from audiences and critics alike after their songs dominated the Billboard Hot 100 for weeks. Not yet an adult, Michael showcased his prodigious talent with singles like Got to Be There, Ben, and Rockin' Robin at just 14. Thanks to his children's early triumphs, Joseph decided to relocate to California in the 1970s. Their first home was at 1616 Queens Road, Los Angeles. Naturally, it was bought with the earnings of his son's music. During this time, the press dubbed the Jackson 5 Jackson Mania, hinting at the frenzied fan base growing around the Jackson family. The Jackson 5 later entered a period of decline when their relationship with Motown Records steadily worsened. In 1976, the Jackson 5 signed with CBS Records. However, Motown sued them for breaching their contract early. But by then, Michael was finding greater success solo, composing and performing iconic songs on his own. Shake Your Body, This Place Hotel, Can You Feel It? In 1978, Michael played a poor man in The Wiz alongside Diana Ross, where he met Quincy Jones by chance. They forged a friendship and planned Michael's first solo album together. 4 years later, Thriller was born in 1982, effectively ending the family band's role and ushering in Michael's golden era as the king of pop. Thriller ranks second among the most successful albums ever in the USA and held the top spot on music charts for ages. With over 107 million copies sold, Thriller remains one of the best-selling albums of all time, boasting 7 tracks that topped the Billboard Hot 100. But from here, a new chapter in Michael Jackson's career officially began. If it needed a name, people might call it Glory and Tragedy. Before Michael Jackson, few black artists had such a profound impact on the global entertainment industry. Through talent and relentless effort, the king of pop gradually claimed the most coveted spots in this glitzy billion-dollar world. Hold on, Michael Jackson was black. He looked white. Look closer, his skin was really pale. Michael was 100% of black descent. Indeed, the story of Michael Jackson's skin is a complex and far from joyful tale. In the early 1980s, Michael Jackson was the most talked about black singer in the media. Hailed as an African-American icon, he won near universal support from white, Asian, Native American, and of course, most black audiences. Michael Jackson symbolized success and the rise of black artists in the land of stars and stripes. The fledgling MTV channel owed its rise to prominence in global entertainment to Michael Jackson. Yet, things began to shift. Take a look at this. Many fans were stunned as each of Jackson's appearances revealed dramatic changes in his look, especially his skin and face, no longer resembling the black man he once was. By 1992, Michael Jackson's skin had visibly whitened. The media seized on it, sparking heated discussions. Facing press scrutiny, Michael didn't deny the change but explained he had vitiligo, a condition causing skin pigment loss. Still, this explanation didn't quell the outrage in America's black community. They felt he was rejecting his roots, trying to become white for greater success in a racially divided society. America, after all, is notorious for racial tensions. A New York plastic surgeon revealed Michael had undergone excessive surgery, nose, teeth, jaw, chin, lips, cheeks, and used skin bleaching drugs. Certain American tabloids spread rumors that Michael Jackson slept in an oxygen-filled chamber to stave off aging. But was that true? What really happened to the king of pop's skin? Could it be that someone would willingly renounce their heritage and skin color just to chase wealth and fame? Perhaps this man holds the answer. His name is Arnold Klein, Michael Jackson's dermatologist during his lifetime. He said Jackson showed signs of vitiligo in 1983, a condition marked by pigment loss in patches of skin. Beyond that, the king of pop also suffered from another cruel skin disease, lupus erythematosus. After 4 years of observation, in 1986, the doctor diagnosed Michael with both conditions, requiring medical intervention. But the truth was even grimmer. Vitiligo didn't just harm his physical health. It took a massive toll on Michael Jackson's mental well-being. The profound impact of vitiligo on his body bred intense psychological strain. Michael used light-toned makeup and possibly bleaching creams to mask the uneven, mottled patches caused by the disease. These creams lightened his skin, and with makeup, he could appear strikingly pale, as we often saw. Yet the public showed little sympathy, relentlessly attacking Michael Jackson for his changing skin. They called him a bad role model for black youth or fabricated stories. They claimed he wanted to look white for film and TV roles. But in a February 1993 interview with Oprah Winfrey, Michael Jackson spoke candidly about the issue. "As far as I know, there's no such thing as skin bleaching. I've never seen it. I don't know what it is." He openly admitted to having vitiligo and using makeup to hide the unsightly, uneven patches. "It's something I can't control. And when people make up stories that I don't want to be who I am, it hurts me deeply. It's my issue. I can't stop it. But millions tan under the sun to darken their skin, to be something they're not. But no one says a word about that." 62 million Americans watched that interview, and they got their answer. Aside from a few harboring grudges against Michael Jackson, most likely felt empathy rather than doubt. And that very interview ignited a series of discussions about vitiligo, a condition barely known to most before that moment. Michael Jackson proudly declared himself a black man. You'll feel that even more in a letter he wrote to photographer William Pecky in 1988. "Maybe I look at the world through rose-colored glasses, but I love people all over the world. That is why stories of racism really disturb me. Because in truth, I believe all men are created equal. I was taught that and will always believe it. I just can't conceive of how a person could hate another because of skin color. I love every race on the planet Earth. Prejudice is the child of ignorance. Naked we came into the world, and naked we shall go out. For it reminds me that I am naked under my shirt, whatever its color." Not long after his death, tubes of Benequin and hydroquinone were found in Michael Jackson's home. Both are skin bleaching agents recommended for adults with vitiligo covering over 50% of their body to widen remaining pigment and match the depigmented areas. An autopsy confirmed Michael Jackson's vitiligo was real. His skin showed a severe loss of melanocytes, the cells that determine skin color. In the end, after his death, the injustice of being accused of rejecting his skin color was finally laid to rest. Yet fate didn't seem done with Michael Jackson. A greater, more terrifying injustice lingered, one still unproven, 16 years after his passing. Do you know what injustice we're talking about? No snowflake in an avalanche ever feels responsible. That's a quote from French philosopher Voltaire, and what Michael Jackson was accused of fits it hauntingly well. The story begins here. Behold this estate. It's called Neverland. Yes, you heard that right. It's named after the magical land in the famous Peter Pan story. Michael Jackson bought this property on the hills of Santa Ynez Valley in Santa Barbara County, California, in 1987 for about $19 million. No conversion needed. You can imagine how colossal that sum was over 3 decades ago. At Neverland, Michael Jackson built his own playground with an amusement park, lake, movie theater, and zoo. It's described as an America of decades past, where a lucky child could grow up. It featured white picket fences, ornate street lamps, manicured lawns and flower beds, tree-lined cottages, and a Fox Native American village. Candy was free and always available. Music flowed from speakers hidden in rock crevices. One zoo resident, the orangutan Bubbles, became Michael Jackson's most famous companion. Famous friends were often welcomed here by Jackson. In 1991, his soulmate, actress Elizabeth Taylor, who once gifted Neverland Zoo an elephant, married her seventh husband, Larry Fortensky, at the estate. But the most notable guests weren't these celebrities, it was the children. Children were often brought to Neverland by Jackson for sleepover parties with child stars like Macaulay Culkin and kids selected from charities he supported. And it's children who became the root of the lingering injustice Michael Jackson still bears. The King of Pop was repeatedly accused of abusing children within his estate. 15 years after his death, the 4-hour documentary, Leaving Neverland, directed by Dan Reed, reignited endless debates about whether the King of Pop abused children. The film centers on accusations from Wade Robson, a 36-year-old choreographer, and James Safechuck, a 42-year-old programmer, against Michael Jackson. These men had sued Jackson, alleging the legendary singer sexually abused them as children in the late 1980s. Yet the lawsuit was dismissed by the court for lack of concrete evidence. Before its premiere, festival director John Cooper stationed medical staff to assist viewers shaken by the film's explicit depictions of child abuse. But what did the film reveal? James Safechuck revealed that Michael Jackson once took him, then a teenager, to various luxury stores, letting him try on jewelry. Jackson told salespeople he was buying a gift for a woman, so Safechuck's small hands helped gauge sizes. Then, Jackson bought a diamond-encrusted gold ring and gave it to him in a mock wedding, where they exchanged vows, nearly completing a ceremony. In Leaving Neverland, Safechuck displayed the ring, claiming Jackson traded expensive jewelry for sexual favors. That's the ring you're seeing on screen. At the height of their friendship, as Jackson defined his bonds with boys, he bought Wade Robson, the film's second accuser, a fax machine. A cutting-edge gadget in the late 1980s, it was often used by the King of Pop to send messages or receive fan mail. But that's not all. At the admired Neverland paradise, secrets lurked everywhere, including a private room inside Jackson's home theater. This room had one-way glass, visible from inside, but opaque from without. Neverland's train station also hid a loft with a bed. Plus, places like the pool and hot tub were alleged sites of child abuse by the King of Pop. With content riddled with ambiguity and lacking solid proof from either side, the battle over Leaving Neverland's truth rages on. Tension between Americans, Jackson's devoted fans, child advocacy groups, and the accusers remains sky-high. Never has a star forced people to ponder so deeply. No one knows whether to trust the lawsuit's evidence and logic or the living witnesses who fought nearly a lifetime to bring this shocking tale to light. To this day, those allegations remain unresolved. The King of Pop is no longer here to defend himself. What will become of this icon? The 2019 documentary spoke of horrific things, but offered no convincing proof. It's just the words of two men, their honesty unverified. Even the ring as evidence could easily mislead those biased against Jackson. No one knows what it truly looked like. And 2019 wasn't the first time Michael Jackson faced child abuse accusations. Before then, attempts to smear the King of Pop's honor had all failed. In mid-1993, Jackson was accused of child sexual abuse by 13-year-old Jordan Chandler and his father, Evan Chandler. He began using drugs to cope with stress, quickly becoming addicted. The Chandlers demanded compensation but were refused. Instead, the singer counter-accused them of extortion. In August 1993, police searched Jackson's ranch and found books and photos of nude boys in his bedroom. Since they were legally purchased and owned, the grand jury declined to indict him. In December 1993, Jordan Chandler submitted a description of the singer's physical traits to police. The jury found no match, but police claimed accuracy. By 1994, Michael settled with the Chandlers out of court. The matter closed, and the King of Pop was cleared for lack of evidence. In 2003, in an episode of the documentary series Living with Michael Jackson, he held hands and spoke of sharing a bed with a boy. The storm brewed again when Gavin Arvizo and his mother accused Jackson of improper conduct. Arrested in November 2003, he faced 7 counts of child sexual abuse and 2 counts of administering intoxicants tied to his bond with Arvizo on the show. Jackson denied all charges, insisting sleepovers weren't exploitative. The trial began January 31, 2005, lasting 5 months. Over a month later, Jackson was acquitted again. A life of triumph and turmoil passed. Yet even in death, Michael Jackson found no peace. Even his death itself became a topic debated back and forth for years on end. On June 25, 2009, Michael Jackson died at Neverland, his wonderland for himself and children. Per the autopsy, he succumbed to acute propofol poisoning, causing respiratory failure at home. His personal physician, Conrad Murray, found Jackson with faint breathing, barely alive on his bed. Medical aid was rushed to Jackson at home, but despite the doctor's efforts, he couldn't be saved. After a 911 call at 12:20, Michael Jackson was pronounced dead at the medical center. Michael Jackson's death was an immense loss to pop music, casting a pall of gloom over fans worldwide. The King of Pop still wielded immense influence. He passed while preparing for a European concert series. On August 28, 2009, Los Angeles County investigators ruled out murder in Michael Jackson's death. The case seemed closed. But 2 years later, a legal battle over who bore responsibility for his sudden death was reopened. Because even if it wasn't outright murder, it could still be a case of manslaughter. The first suspect was, unsurprisingly, Conrad Murray, Michael Jackson's personal doctor. According to Conrad Murray's testimony, he administered propofol, a surgical anesthetic, to help Michael Jackson sleep through the night. In his final 2 months, Michael Jackson's mental health had deteriorated so severely he couldn't sleep. Conrad Murray was swiftly handcuffed for manslaughter in the King of Pop's death. This brought some satisfaction to Jackson's fans and family. Shockingly, the doctor wasn't fazed. He believed he'd acted correctly, fulfilling his client's wishes. He had reasons for giving Jackson that drug. Murray refused to cooperate, denying all charges. This stalled the court's investigation. Not stopping there, Murray stunned the judge and public by claiming Jackson was a drug addict, and the King of Pop had begged him for drugs to sleep. The lawyer for Dr. Conrad Murray, who was on trial for the manslaughter of the King of Pop, proposed a theory that Michael Jackson took his own life by self-administering an overdose of the anesthetic propofol, leading to his death. To prove his client's innocence, the lawyer requested Jackson's grave be exhumed. Of course, that was never going to happen. On the flip side, police had their own ways to substantiate charges against Murray. Two top propofol experts were called as indirect witnesses for the prosecution. First was Dr. Paul White, dubbed the father of propofol for his research. And second was Dr. Stephen Schaefer, who wrote the drug's guidelines and warnings. Both doctors noted that in most trials, they found narcotics and stimulants interacted in specific ways. Testing Jackson's tissue samples, they discovered that besides surgical propofol, he'd been given two other sedatives, benzodiazepine, lorazepam, and midazolam, nearly every night in his last 2 months. To counter this, Murray's defense lawyer argued, Murray was weaning Jackson off addiction, prescribing a 25 milligrams dose of propofol, just enough to help him sleep, not to kill him. But like it or not, Murray and his lawyer couldn't deny he'd poorly managed the drugs. For instance, he administered drugs without monitoring heart rate, breathing, or blood pressure, leading to undetected anomalies he failed to address. Worse, after noticing Jackson had stopped breathing, Murray told a bodyguard to hide all drugs before calling an ambulance. This showed Murray recognized his negligence when it happened. Moreover, he clearly planned to cover up his guilt. It was determined that Dr. Conrad Murray's sloppy and deceitful conduct directly led to the death of superstar Michael Jackson. This was a crime, not mere medical oversight. A crime where the end result was a human life lost. In the latest ruling, after considering mitigating factors, a Los Angeles judge declared, "It's crucial to distinguish between crimes. Many see this as a case of medical negligence, but it's not. It's criminal negligence, the manslaughter of Michael Jackson. Criminal negligence occurs when someone acts carelessly, disregarding human life and indifferent to the consequences. In reality, Michael Jackson died due to Conrad Murray's irresponsibility. Murray crossed treatment boundaries, resulting in manslaughter. Evidence revealed a web of lies from the doctor. Murray repeatedly deceived and showed no remorse. He gave Jackson the potent sedative propofol, but failed to monitor him properly. Michael Jackson placed too much trust in Conrad Murray, and that cost him his life. After a slew of arguments and evidence from authorities, prosecutors, and officials, the Los Angeles court sentenced Conrad Murray to 4 years in prison for manslaughter. His utter lack of remorse and failure to grasp his wrongdoing sealed his fate. This made him a societal danger. Yet Murray served only half his 4-year sentence. Although he began serving his sentence in November 2011 and was slated for release in November 2015, Conrad Murray was freed early due to good behavior and an influx of new inmates, forcing the prison to reduce its population of older ones. I bet even now, many still replay Michael Jackson's timeless hits over and over. It's no longer just music, it's memory, a monument to a generation, a slice of history. When will Michael Jackson finally rest? When will the accusations against him be resolved? When will the world forget there was once a man called the King of Pop? Perhaps only time holds the truest answer. Thank you so much for your support and for joining us in this video. That's all for today's video. Goodbye and see you in our next videos. Wishing you all a wonderful day.